Hi everyone, I am known as AGI Builder on Telegram, and my project is EdgeDoc. It's an AI dashboard for Polymarket, which allows you to kinda get a quick overview of a given market using AI. For example, we can take some trending market, something related to Iran, for example, and just click research. So here what we can see is just some metadata of that market fetched from Polymarket API. And here is the description. The AI agent is context aware, and the default prompt that is used here just tells it to look up everything related to the context of this market and just pull it into the graph. So first it goes to Google and search some previous events, right? I guess. Then it goes to the scraper and just dumps the context of these websites, and then it starts to analyze what's in the context to build all kinds of relationships.
Okay, that's epic. And so, how far along are you? Like, do you have users so far? Like, are you ready for users? Are you looking to expand, or are you still building?
Everything's ready for users. I have some people who are very excited about that, and I subsidize their use in exchange for feedback. So
Okay, cool.
it's kind of launched officially, but not super popular yet.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I personally love this idea. Obviously, as you saw my own thing, but I think like one thing that is very underutilized right now is graphs and mapping of like analysis like this. And so I'm curious, like, what got you to this idea for prediction markets?
So at first, I tried to apply this idea to other domains, like evaluating someone's digital footprint. But then I realized that prediction markets, as they are now, incentivize information gathering, and there is a huge audience of people waiting to get the information in order to make more informed bets. So stuff like, AI agents for that help people to get into the context of something faster is going to be super hot.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think like what I like about this is that it's not the same shape that a lot of trading terminals are. And I think a lot of people are building, lots of cool stuff, but a lot of what they're building looks like a trading terminal. And prediction markets, I think, are fundamentally different because you're trading on information signals more than, what the order book says or like what the liquidity looks like. Do you find like are you interested in including those kinds of signals and like the more quant side of things into this, or do you want to keep it to just these like pieces of information and how they map together?
Yeah, potentially I was thinking how to integrate live feeds here. Like, for example, pre-selected Twitter accounts or other social media that are chosen from a shared pool specifically for this market by AI, so that whenever someone tweets something, it is instantly visible on the research page, kind of like personalized dashboard for a given market. So
Right.
yeah, that's definitely planned.
Yeah, that's cool. I see like there's being a lot of utility there. Do you think like how do you kind of manage the signal versus noise, or do you feel that it's better for the user to make that decision? If you have like a certain market that is very general, like let's say the federal, the interest rate increase, and we can see there's like, 50 nodes on this graph. What's your take on like how to refine that?
Right. Of course, for example, here there are many nodes related to Israel, but suppose we are not focusing on that right now. So we can just say leave only US and Iran related nodes, remove everything else.
Okay, sick.
So the main interface is just prompting.
Right. Okay. And so you can't like, I guess I'm clicking on the different nodes here and you can regroup and you can move them around and then you can kind of dive into a particular node. But the interface is otherwise like the prompts on the side.
Yeah, the interface definitely allows you to do almost everything manually, like move nodes, delete them, and so on. And every node is linked with the documents that highlight the sources, like what is this node based from, and the intended way to use it actually is to actually read these documents. So this is like the first step of the research that you are supposed to perform for a market. But of course, you can just ask directly, like in the chat, and it will also give you a textual summary like this, or any kind of question, like you would do with ChatGPT.
Right. This is so cool. Have you been able to like see the change in its answers from maybe asking it at the beginning before you run like a cycle of information, like what trade it would make or like what's the best trade on a certain market, and then afterwards and seeing if there's like a difference?
In fact, the I discourage the agent from giving the user concrete numbers or directions in the system prompt, because
Okay.
I want it to be more like a deep research tool rather than um, what's more what some other AI agent helpers do. I mean, they are just focused on giving you the number, and if you try to ask them the number multiple times, they will give you a different number every time. Although I haven't yet managed to completely disallow that, like in the system prompt or some guardrails, but I am planning to do that.
Okay, cool. I guess yeah, you're not like trying to pretend that you like have certain signals or alpha from this information. It's up to the user to decide.
Yeah, it's for human in the loop trading, for whales who have a lot of value to risk, and for
Mhm.
those who maybe just want to actually understand the situation, who enjoy that. The moment you click the button and get the graph, it's just the first step.
Right. Yeah, because then you kind of dive into it and like, do you spend a lot of time on X, like researching and learning about different like conflicts or happenings as they're going on?
Well, on X, the problem is that when I try to look into a certain topic, I cannot mute it forever after I'm done researching, or if it's no more relevant. So I don't want to use X for that specifically. But actually, I'm considering solving that problem for different markets specifically by letting AI find relevant KOLs or accounts for every market, so that you could open HDog, find a market, and view the feed that is relevant to this market without subscribing to all these people or liking them. Because presumably many people don't want to mess up their recommendation system on X.
Yeah, and you also it's hard to kind of filter between what you are caring about in the moment versus, what you generally access it for. I think there's like
Exactly.
definitely an untapped whole untapped section here. And like, are you into like regular crypto at all, or is this just your kind of is this something separate that you're getting into, or
Yes, I am into crypto. I have been building quite a bit of stuff as a consultant in the past, but I am keeping my identity unknown, so that's all I can say.
no,
And I'm
that's fair.
more like familiar with crypto from the technical perspective, I guess.
Okay. Are you Satoshi?
No.
Okay. No, just kidding. But yeah, no, the reason I ask is because like I personally have done stuff in crypto and I don't, I've never really been into the space as like culturally. It's not really been something that I have gone deep into. And, I've built a few tools as well, but prediction markets for me feel like something different. They feel like their own thing, like a unique thing, like betting on Fartcoin or building tools to track Fartcoin is like a totally different thing than what you're building here, which is like this is as close to the truth of the reality of the war and like having all this understanding of the reality of some conflict or some geopolitical thing or economic thing that's going to happen. It helps you resolve that. And it's like prediction markets are very truth seeking. So I'm curious, like what got you into this side of things? I don't want to say it's like not crypto because obviously Polymarket is built on crypto rails, but it does feel like its own thing. Yeah, would love to just get your
To
insight on all
me,
that.
it doesn't feel like a completely separate thing, because prediction markets are an old cyberpunk idea, same as Web3. So culturally, there are many overlaps here. Because, prediction markets are not new. Between 2000 and I guess 2006 or so, there was the first wave of prediction markets craze when people realized that prices can be used as signals for making decisions or hedging against. And there was even a project to create a prediction market for terror attacks in order to incentivize terrorists to defect and leak the information to the public, but it got
Holy.
shut down.
Really? What's that called?
It was a project by some government institution in the US. I don't remember. Let
Okay.
me just look it up.
See, that's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, it is an old idea. I guess it's just never really had its main character moment, let's say, that it's having now. Wow, yeah, 2003.
Yep, DARPA Terrorism Futures Market. That's the name.
DARPA Terrorism Futures Market. I found a paper in Nature. That's crazy. That's crazy. And so I guess we had this is before Bitcoin, obviously, and this is before um, a lot of the cyberpunk stuff that is now a reality has sort of come into effect. But yeah, it's an old idea, and now it's becoming it's sort of is the right time maybe that this kind of thing is very obvious and open. Are you what are your plans for this project to grow it? What's your next features? What features are you excited to add to it?
So, I guess I would like to add more integrations. For now, it's just Google, website fetching, and Twitter. So many more is needed to make it useful. Or actually, I forgot, it also supports LinkedIn. So
Oh,
you
nice.
can research people's backgrounds, like where they used to work and stuff like that, or companies.
Yeah,
But generally speaking, I just want to attract more users and follow their feedback first,
right.
because it's very hard to predict where will the project be heading.
Yes. Yeah, and it's this kind of thing is a very kind of bottomless piece of software to build because there's kind of infinite integrations, infinite ways that each, node can interact with other nodes, and it doesn't really ever end. So it's you have to just be able to find what is the most highest value piece of information or form of that UX that can deliver to people in a way that they're driving value from it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, very cool. I'm logging out of it because I think it's been, yeah, but yeah, so that's really cool. So, bef- in terms of your time in the space and what are some other trends that you're noticing and some cool things that you are excited about and that you're watching when it comes to specifically the prediction market space?
Well, I think that this year will finally be the year of real, applied AI that provides value,
Mm-hmm.
because probably a year or so was definitely needed in order for people to catch up with the technical aspect of it and actually build useful concepts. But unfortunately, I haven't really seen many AI agents that actually do meaningful stuff, because usually it's just AI give me the number and you're supposed to gamble on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not assuming you're a technical person here. Do you use a lot of AI coding tools?
I use Cursor as my main ID, some code, I mean Cloud Code. I tried a lot of them, but my daily choice is Cursor.
Yeah. So it was the same for me. I was 95% cursor. And then over the holidays, I decided to try and just see how much I could do with Claude. And I had a few projects I wanted to see it build. And now I am 95% Claude Code. I have Cursor open. I'm watching and looking at what's happening for, very obvious small stuff. I fix it, but otherwise I'm just telling it what to do. And I'm sort of trying to upscale that abstraction where I can make tickets from my phone and then it picks up the tickets every, few hours on a scheduled job and just keeps going. There's agents that are watching it, agents watching
Yeah,
each other. Like,
these tools are getting so good that soon we will not even be able to compare them.
yeah. And I mean, from a software person to a software person, what do you think of that? The job itself is sort of vanishing really, really quickly. And if you had told me 2, 3 years ago that this was going to happen, I would have laughed at you.
To be honest, I never liked the job aspect of it. I like to prototype stuff, to architecture stuff, and do everything except of the implementation. Like I'm not vibe coding in the true sense. I'm always thinking really hard about the architecture and stuff, and I do many iterations usually. But the way compilers replaced people who actually like punched these tiny cards, I think
Hmm.
that's what's going to happen with software development, and I'm super excited about it because people will finally be free from the boring parts.
Yeah. No, I love that perspective, man. I totally agree with you, to be honest. I love prototyping as well. I love building shit, but I love building shit, but I hate building stuff in a very, like the tedious parts. And I know plenty of devs who, take a lot of joy in like the minutia of their architecture and, optimizing something or like knowing a library really well. I'm not like that. And I think this is for people like us, this is like kind of a hallelujah moment. And what I find interesting, maybe you can relate because my friends that are like older devs are still in denial and they're not able to comprehend when they're like, oh, it doesn't write good code and like, but it can learn, or it's like it writes like bad UI, like it has bad design patterns, but it can learn. It's like they forget that part where it can learn and they don't see it being like one of the metaphors that I really liked was that it's like we used to write books by hand until the printing press. And then we could just like stamp out books. I think that's that kind of moment for software development is happening like right now. So it's kind of fucked.
Yeah, that's true. I notice that pattern very often. I have a lot like older friends who are software developers, and what they don't realize is that you're supposed to actually prompt the agents before using them. Like I have probably 20 to 30 cursor rules in my rules folder and a few custom comments too. So you're actually supposed to dump your architectural preferences, code style preferences, and so on into the rules before you start and maintain your own kind of like repo with the rules specifically.
Yeah, yeah. And I do the same with Claude. I have kind of like a general projects um Claude file, and then when I'm like, okay, make this new thing, it reads that, decides what to do, does it according to like the styles I set up. There's like other documents that it pulls from. But yeah, and it's like it becomes like the only thing left really is distribution because if you are, two or three prompts away from like a working piece of software and so many people are now two or three prompts away from a working piece of software. Like a lot of the people that I've spoken to in the space are builders who are vibe coding. Like they've never coded before. They had an idea for something and they're building it and they have like a working product or they have, revenue. They wouldn't have had like a chance before, but now it's like they're doing it alongside us. And so it's like where, if it's like the normalizer, the equalizer, where does that
I don't
leave
think
devs?
it's equalizer because I believe you cannot go far without thinking really hard how your specific constraints kind of like manifest into the architecture of your app. But yeah, also the go to market can also be automated. Let me show you something. So here I asked it about KOLs who are close to the Polymarket Builders program, and it kind of just gave me the answer, specific people I can talk to, and there are contacts like within the ecosystem. So in the future, I think even some aspects of, I mean, some boring aspects of go to market could also be automated, at least like in this human in the loop form.
So yeah, that's a really, really interesting point because I think like if it's like it used to be like this much building and then because there are so few builders, you needed that much in distribution because you're the only one with XYZ software. And now it's like you can have something working very quickly, but then distribution is hard because attention is harder than ever. There was a stat from the App Store that there's like 15% more apps that were launched in the last 3 months over the same period of last year. And that's like a huge number of people who are just building stuff for the first time. But go to market and distribution and marketing are still like, they still require taste and like a human
Yes, of
connection.
course. You have to actually craft a human message, like human to human. I'm not denying that.
Yeah. No, and it's cool because you have that built in. And that's something I'm trying to think of now for my own things that I'm building is like, okay, whatever you build, it has to be viral. It has to have a very, very clear, almost automatable distribution strategy. You know, like I have an app that a mobile app I'm building outside of this space, which is based around like walking. That's like just like a personal fun project. But the go to market is basically like I have a fire crawl and no, not fire crawl. That's for the way. I have replicate basically like create an image of like a girl walking, and then I have Kling turn that into a video. And then I have another service like put, you know, like the quote over the video and then send that off. And then I can send that to TikTok. You know, stuff like that is become like vibe marketing is becoming a big thing as well. But it does seem like we're going to get to like a future where it's like you say your idea into the machine instantly understands it and makes it. And now you have to like sell it human to human. And that gets harder and harder.
Yeah, but I still can't wait to actually live in that world because I have so many different ideas I have never tried because they were too complex to do it in an hour.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's like actually really fun to build all this stuff and get it out. So I guess, how long ago did you come up with this specific idea? Like, is this something you've always wanted to build, or you just kind of saw I know you mentioned earlier you were building it for something else, but what's what's your background, I guess, in this concept of like these graph relationships and node relationships?
So that happened like 5 months ago. I was playing with Twitter scraping and Google, and I just tried to vibe code a prototype of essentially this tool, but specifically to find who people on Twitter interact with, like a more specific version that is tied to one use case. And then a friend of mine walked behind me and asked me, "What the hell is this?" And I explained that to him, and we tried to profile his X account, and he was super excited about that. I thought that he's playing pretend by overreacting, but then I realized that it's actually super valuable to have that first impression, kind of like visual overview of the domain, of any domain.
Mm-hmm.
And ChatGPT is actually deficient in that regard because it gives you a
Yeah.
wall of text for any complex topic, whereas most like human domains could be more easily represented as a graph with
Yeah.
relationships.
Have you and not even just a graph, but like any kind of visual relationship, I feel like LLMs and all of that have been like the MS DOS era of this new kind of technology. Have you heard of like Slupcraft or like any of this new meta around agent orchestration as a video game like RTS?
No, I have never heard of Slapcraft. What's that?
So if you go you have your screen up. If you want to search on Twitter for SLOP, slop, which we all love our slop, and then Slopcraft. This dev is really funny. He's
I'm not
like,
logged in into this browser, but I can search it in another browser that's not shared. Slopcraft, right?
yeah. And there's like, ignore the crypto stuff, but try and find the kits. I'll find his name here. KITZE is the dev. And so he's building like basically a gamified version of managing agents where, you know, there's like pylons and buildings and they walk around and stuff like that. Let me know if you're able to find it. I wonder if I can actually send you.
KITZE, that guy?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna send you the.
Yeah, I found him.
Oh, you found it. Okay, great. Yeah, so like, I mean, we're very close to a future where stuff like this is very real, and you know, under the hood, you're like writing software and building infrastructure and deploying instances, but then you're also like playing a video game, and so that video game has like a much more powerful, outsized influence.
Interesting concept.
Yeah,
Uh,
very trippy.
Very hard to grasp right now because I have never seen anything like that. But I think it kind of makes sense because people often need visual hooks for complex ideas in order to understand them better. So
Hmm.
if you have a game where there are objects in VR or whatnot, it's much more easy to grasp, right?
Hmm. And there's also I sent you another one on Telegram, but this one is Agent Craft, which I'm not sure if you ever played World of Warcraft growing up, but it's like a very nice one to see where, yeah, like you're turning this visual, you're turning it into like a visual thing that is going to just be extremely powerful because you're playing this video game, but the video game can like actually affect the world and affect things around you. So I think we're still very early days. I think we're definitely going to see more of this kind of thing. There's also like Factorio. Yeah, gosh.
Yeah, I hope our future world will not look like Factorio with aliens, super intelligence, or whatever.
Yeah,
Especially not the mods.
that's funny. Yeah. Are you, in terms of stuff like AGI and all of that, how do you feel about the next few years and where do you see the world in like 5 years' time? Do you think it's more of the same or extremely different?
I think that before it kind of spills into the physical dimension, we will simply see much, much more apps. But I also believe that it's kind of easy to automate most of the labor. And so we'll probably soon forget what physical work is.
Yeah, I think it gets tricky because it's not going to be evenly distributed. Even now, like you can get like a regular dev job if you want one that is just a normal, job. Like here's a few tickets, here's 5 tickets a week, like write this code. And then you have on the other end of the spectrum, people running like multi-agent orchestration, building like a different business every day until, something hits a signal.
Yeah.
And
What I'm
it,
worried about is that we will have to actually extend our culture. I mean, not just developer culture in particular, but more general, like human hacker builder culture onto all of these people who haven't yet been able to, participate in these creative processes of humanity because like material conditions didn't allow them, and it may not be so easy. But in general, like I'm super um, positive on that, and I think that as people, we will probably grow a lot, not only in the like intellectual sense, but also in moral sense as beings.
That's really interesting. Could you talk about that a bit more? So I just want to kind of rephrase it. So a lot of people are now coming online to this kind of builder culture, entrepreneurial, like you're able to make things and like we need to make sure that they are kind of well acclimated to that culture.
Sure, I can give a particular example.
Sure.
So I have a friend who is an artist,
Okay.
and among artists, it's kind of um, common that they just hate AI. But
Hmm.
my friend is very different to them, and he explains it like that. So, for example, the AI slop videos, right? He told me that it's super good that people who have never created any art can try that now and express what they really feel or think in that form, and that his position is basically that everything that comes out of a human is essentially art, and it has some moral value because of that.
And that includes even if it's like from a prompt.
Yes, definitely, because conscious action has been applied to that.
Wow. I love that. That is like a really great framing of it because I think there is a lot of people who are kind of irrationally very against it. And a lot of times they're, very talented artists and they're just like, if you make a prompt that does something similar to mine, that doesn't count. That's not real art. And it does feel unfair because if you don't have that skill or talent, but like, you get joy out of making art like that, that's fine. That should be fine.
Yeah, that's because art is too institutionalized. Like people can be artists professionally, upload their stuff to stocks, and they're basically set for life from royalties or whatever, or or their clients. And I think that, the bigger picture is that there will be much more wealth in total in the near future. So it makes no sense to fight over issues that boil down to wealth right now, like who gets to pay the artists and so on.
Right. And so if you have spent a few weeks drawing something or like years learning how to draw that thing, and then I can also make something that looks the same. You shouldn't feel bad because you feel like the reason you feel bad is because you feel like your art has been devalued, but you shouldn't feel bad because I also now get to create something.
Not just that, I think that this value is imaginary to them, like mostly because it's very similar to the sunk cost fallacy. You know that, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so just for people who don't know, the sunk cost fallacy is that, let's say I may be using it in a different context here specifically, but let's say you've like spent 10 years in art school and studying art. And at the end of that 10 years, an AI tool comes out that says, now you can just make art. You feel like you've lost something because you've spent that 10 years, but actually, you can just kind of now pivot and do the next thing. That isn't exactly, you shouldn't like, we have a tendency to react to that and have a sense that we've like lost out on that.
Yeah, I think that the fallacy is specifically in the feeling that the more you invest, the more value you get out from that. But that's not always the case.
Yes, that is much better put. It's much more clearly put. Yeah. And so I really like that. It's really interesting. So people have this sunk cost fallacy going into why their art is now why they feel devalued for their work and their effort. And then on the other side, like it doesn't stop the vibe coders or the AI artists from creating stuff nonstop. And, I like, there are lots of platforms now where people just make art like nonstop and it's getting higher and higher quality, and there's like infinite amounts. So what does the world look like if there's like infinite amounts of high quality art everywhere? Like, what does that actually do for culture?
Oh, it's a good question. I guess it depends on who actually creates it. Like, if there are a few suppliers who generate tons of art and most people don't do anything, then it's not super good, kind of like dystopian actually. But I think that we're heading in the opposite direction of having literally everyone participate in doing some creative stuff, because what else would there be to do? Like, assuming our material needs are met using robots or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely going in the other direction where there's like just going to be an abundance and then the robots are going to come. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize how close we are with the robots actually being extremely ever present and ubiquitous in society. But we're basically going to have all of these problems solved. And then maybe we do need to find more purpose or find higher purpose. And maybe there'll be like some spiritual reckoning there. But I feel like it's hard to imagine us being unhappy with abundance, but I think that's also a very human condition to be unhappy with whatever it is we have.
Yeah, probably it would not affect human perception of well-being for long, because, people get used to practically anything if
Yes.
it is material, but there are still like sources of satisfaction that can never be exhausted, like interpersonal relationships, love, or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. And maybe like some of the biggest tools and software in the future are going to be things that can leverage that the most and can bring people together. Have you considered making EdgeDog like a multiplayer game?
Yes, actually, I'm working on some social features right now. First, it will be in the form of just sharing your projects so that you will be able to actually put your name near it. I put it down. Anyway, can show it right now. But basically, you will be able to share a session like with ChatGPT, and then other people will be able to fork it. And that would be the first milestone on the road to turning this up into more like a social phenomenon.
Right. So having like a sense, like a Git feature almost where you can fork it, change it, stuff like that.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, very cool. And then because I wonder if we're going to see more like collaborative tooling in the space, because obviously trading is a very like PvP. It's a single player game, but there are there is like a huge social aspect to it, and there's like the mention market streamers and all of that. Is there? I mean, I'm going to assume that the answer is geopolitics, but is there like a specific market category that you find that this works the best for?
I think it's geopolitics, yes, because these domains kind of fit the graph structure the most,
Hmm.
because countries, people, and institutions are like naturally structured that way.
Hmm. Okay, very cool. Yeah, I'm really happy we were able to connect, and found the time to chat tonight. I think for my like closing questions here, I guess, is there anything that you want to share about EdgeDog? Anything you want people to know about you or this project? And yeah, anything else you want to talk about or say?
Sure. Yeah. So the most important thing is that you can try it right now. Just go to h.doc, sign a message with your wallet, and you will get a sign up bonus just enough to like get a grasp of what it is and join the Telegram chat. Thank you for hosting me today. It was super nice talking with you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciated you coming on.